hello to all my friends out there in YouTube land. I'm Dakian. It is now Monday the 10th of April 2017. And as always, I've got some new minis to show you. Now the first one, not the only one, I should point out. Don't be afraid, there's more to come. The first one is simply a repaint or a touching up of an old mini that I showed you last week. I've gently improved a bit on it. I hope you'll agree. Made it a bit more distinct, mostly in the skin. The makeup perhaps looks a bit much on camera. It looks fine in real life though. And yeah, not a whole lot to say about that. A simple enough project. Next up, something more challenging. The Jabberwock is done. And yeah, it was an interesting little experiment because it's a crazy, chaotic fantasy monster. It was Carol-esque. I experimented. I did some weird things with it. For example, painting the wings all dirty-like and different shades of colors, and spraying them matte varnish instead of the satin I've used for the body. Like I've mentioned last time, I wanted the body to sparkle more, so there's a lot of iridescent medium here. And yeah, and I went matte for the base as well, of course. And I also did the claws and teeth in kind of a iron color, like they're metal. I just thought that was an interesting twist. He doesn't have bones, he has a metallic skeleton, like Wolverine. Or something. Yeah. But I don't have much more to say about it. That was this guy. And last but certainly not least, I've finished these 4 Pulp Alley minis. And as you can perhaps tell, I've reused a few colors on them. Like the blue on these pants is the same as this coat, and the red of the dress reappears in a few places. The waistcoat here and the lining of this coat, for example. And the white is of course the same on all of them. Now, how did I choose the schemes? Well, this model, the name of it is the Red Queen, so I didn't feel like I had a lot of choice. But I went with a subdued, tried to go for a very dark red on her, and a different kind of red, a kind of more natural auburn color for the hair. And this lady, well, not much to say. She's in jeans and a white shirt. The only sort of out of left field choice I made was that her eye patch is also blue. It's actually different blue from the pants. Might not be able to tell. And I did that because if I'd painted the eye patch a sort of leather brown or black or something, it would not have been noticed. It would have just looked like a smudge or something dirty on the model, and would not have registered, at least at arm's length, as being supposed to be anything. This guy is very nattily attired, and this is because I have to thank the viewer. I forgot the name. I forgot who said it. Somebody helped me out last video. I commented that this sculpt reminded me of a comic book character. I couldn't remember which. And this viewer reminded me that it was Corto Maltese. And so I looked up some images of Corto and painted it like that. A bit brighter. I mean, the blue is somewhat darker in many images of Corto Maltese, but I decided to go for something bright. And of course, this guy is dressed in a classic trench coat with a dark gray suit underneath. And the only splash of color here is I painted his waistcoat a different contrasting color, a bit of a red, just as a splash. But trench coat is classic in the Tommy gun, and yeah. I'm overall very pleased with these models, and I think I'll keep buying from Statuesque Miniatures is the company. They make nice sculpts and castings. So, what do I have in price? So I thought I'd show you the next batch of these Innsmouth folk in the works and explain a little bit about the technique used to get this look. You can see that there's kind of a greenish cast to them. They're pre-shaded with green, and originally this happened purely by mistake. It was, you know, one of those happy accidents, you might say. When I was painting the first batch, I had them primed, and first I was putting some wash on my palette. It was this wash, the Vallejo Game Color Green. I was going to use it for something else, and I poured way too much on because I didn't notice. I was unscrewing the cork, and well, it didn't happen this time. But I didn't notice the nozzle had come loose and was inside the cork, and I was just pouring from a completely open bottle, and there was a huge puddle of wash on my wet palette. And I said, oh, damn. What am I going to do with this? Am I going to waste all of this good paint? I mean, it's not a good paint. Honestly, these, I don't recommend the Game Color washes. I mean, the Army Painter is much better. Even Citadel is better than this stuff as a wash. But, you know, I don't want to waste it anyway. So I thought, well, these guys live by the sea. It might make sense for them to have sort of greenish cast to them. So I washed over the gray primer with the green, and then I dry brushed up the highlights. And I've done this again. I've done a rather heavy dry brush of Ushabti Bone and then a light dry brush of white. And now I am going to build up the other colors by glazing over this. As in putting really, really thin, transparent layers of paint, which will allow the green to kind of shine through on all of the other colors. And that's what provided the kind of dingy, seaside, sickly look on the previous batch, and hopefully it will do the same for these guys. Just thought you might like to know how I did that. For my next project to follow the current ones, I'm sticking with Blind Beggar Miniatures, and I'm going to go for a group of minis that were Kickstarter as usual, and I think you've seen these before. I've unboxed these before. These are the cultists, the human cultists, and this particular blister is mostly full of armed guys with guns, and here we have more guns. Some of them pretty heavy weaponry. And in this one, well, we also have a piece of scenery, a big ankh. Not sure what I want to do with that. Maybe I'll build it as a kind of a marker piece of some sort. Who knows? And here's one guy lying around loose. Then we have these pentagrams, which I'm not going to do anything with currently. They're just, I'll leave them as they are. They can be used as some sort of markers also. Yeah. But I want to do something more than just these, because these are all going to be painted in pretty much the same colors, and it's going to be simplistic speed painting. They will get done very quickly, and the upcoming week I do have some more time on my hands, so I thought I'd start up some more advanced projects as well. So I picked out two minis, and again, you've seen these before. I haven't actually done anything with them. These are the two mini minis from a line called Infamy. So this guy is a sort of Western gunfighter with two pistols. That's what he looks like. He's part of a, well, in the lore of the Infamy game, he's the head of a family of adventuring or fighting people. I painted one of his daughters before as a sort of military officer with a saber and a pistol for use in Strange Aeons. And this is, I believe, his other daughter, who is a sniper with a long rifle resting on some sort of prop here. This is the base that comes with the model, and presumably in the Infamy game the rules require a large base like this. I don't know if I need this big a base. This looks like a 50mm, and the Crouching Sniper certainly has a stance wider than a 30mm base, but we'll see if maybe 40mm is enough. If so, I'll stick to that. Yeah, that'll be enough, I think. But anyway, I'll build it up until next week, and we'll see what we see. My unboxing for this week is more of an unbagging. I got a package from, well, you can't really tell from the actual content here, but this is all stuff from a web store called WAMP in the UK. And I picked up a variety of stuff because they were having a sale, and I wanted some of the stuff they had. Now, most of this is from Statuesque Miniatures, and you will remember those. This is the company that did those pulp figures I'm currently painting. And I have some. I think I have some more from that range. Here's one more pack from the Pulp Alley range, which is a couple of other characters. So, what are they called? Ramjeet Singh and the Bosun, which I don't know what it means. Anyway, I'll look at whether I think they're appropriate enough for the era I'm currently painting in. Some of the others are more, well, for example, this, Tallulah Kane Carter. This is a reporter and a cameraman, which are more modern day, or at least late 20th century. The Statuesque Asylum range includes a few different. This one's called Professor Felicity Poppington, and she might conceivably fit in any era. I'm not sure. Then we have some more military style figures. We have Commissar Vesperavenko, who, yeah, that's a bit too modern, or maybe not, but it's not any kind of historical military she's a part of, or Bella the Partisan for that matter, or Lila of the Resistance. I don't know why this one is in the blister and all the others are just in baggies. The only other company that I got stuff from was from Bombshell Miniatures, one of their babes. In this case, Dusty Page, who is a Western heroine. Also, I got a paintbrush, which is WAMP's own brand. This is called Blender No. 1. It's supposed to go with another brush that I already had. And you know what? Let's take a closer look at some WAMP brushes. Just a sec while I reset. Okay, so the brush on the left is one I just bought, which is called the Blender No. 1. This one I already had. It's called the Blender No. 2. And you'll see that this is a so-called filbert brush. It's a wedge shape. It's kind of flat, comes to a point, and it's a wedge. And the idea is to use these in conjunction for wet blending. You use this big brush to just slop on the paint, and then you use this brush to blend it. And I have actually been practicing a little bit with this brush, the No. 2, and using other brushes for the first application. and it actually works pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. Now, these I bought separately. I already had a few brushes that I haven't used at all yet, which I got from a Kickstarter a while back. I don't know if I've showed you this before, but these are, let's see. This one is called the base coat, and there's a freehand, a detail, and a fine detail. The thing about these are they're bigger. They have bigger bodies than just about any other brand of brush I've seen. I'll do some comparisons. There's a clear step from the base coat here to the detail to the fine detail. The freehand, I can't really tell any difference between that and the fine detail one. They look pretty much exactly the same, so I'm not sure why they have one called something else. But I thought I'd compare it to a couple of other brushes that are also called fine detail. If we take off this cap, so hang on, like that, there you see the brush. Here, by comparison, is the Citadel fine detail brush. Now this is one that I've used quite a lot. It's from the previous Citadel range. It's not the current lineup of brushes. And you'll notice that it's noticeably smaller. And for a third example, we have an Army Painter Hobby Precise Detail brush, which is also brand new and hasn't been used. So you can see a clear difference between all of these. The WAP one here, it comes to a point which is just as fine as the others, but it has more of a full body behind it. I've tried painting with it a little bit, and it's interesting. It's a different kind of experience. It lets me draw more paint into the brush. You see, with these really small, short, thin brushes, I have to be really, really careful how much paint I draw, because too much and it will get sucked up into the ferrule and it will start to make the brush go bad. You know, get the hairs, ruin the hairs. It seems like this is safer from that, the WAP one, in that regard. Also, it lets me keep painting for longer with one draw of paint. So it still feels a little bit odd, I have to say. But, you know, that might just be a question of experience and what you're used to. So, yeah, I'll keep trying it out and experimenting and see where it leads me. Anyway, that was all the information I had for you this week. I hope some of it was interesting for you and useful. In any case, I also hope you will join me again next week. In the meantime, you can like this video, comment, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And for now, I'm Doc Eon, and I'm signing off.